My name is Carrie Presley, and I currently work in finance in New York City, and it's May 12th of 2026, and diving into AI, looking for a YouTube channel that is talking about the messy, crazy, adapting, learning, breaking excitement of AI and integrating it into my life, and couldn't really find anything that existed. So this is going to be my story. I just went to B&H, got a camera. Let's do this. Happy Monday. So it's been about a week since I decided I wanted to start just a really documentary style vlog of the journey in finance through this whole AI evolution. I found myself going to YouTube and finding tutorials, exceptional tutorials, by the way, and then going to X. There's articles and resources and so many helpful links. Also, a lot of doomsday, so be careful out in X. It seems as if every day I open my feed, it's like, are you a knowledge worker? You're so cooked. Are you in finance? Your job is so cooked. AI is replacing you now. A little clickbaity. If you've actually started to use the tools, you're like, yeah, this isn't completely just cooking everyone. And I know the tools are getting better and there will be some changes, but there's some incredible data out there, and we've seen it through history. It repeats itself as well, right? So these new technologies come along, and while some jobs and many jobs are replaced, new jobs are created. I actually saw a data point from the World Economic Forum. I think it showed that 85 million jobs could be lost. Meanwhile, 97 million new jobs could actually be created globally. None of us really know what's going to happen, but the point here is that there's change. Yeah, your job might be replaced. My job might be replaced. So much of what we do might be replaced, but there's going to be new creations. So stay positive, stay curious. I think curiosity has been the key to staying on top of the technology, but also not getting overwhelmed, because it is overwhelming. Started jumping in on this journey, just a little backstory, jumping in on my AI journey started, as with most people, in the chat box. So ChatGPT, and then jumped into Gemini last fall. And then probably February of this year, Openclaw and agents was everywhere. I did it. I bought the Mac Mini. I spent weekends setting up my Openclaw. It was fantastic. I had it running automations. Quickly started working in Claude Cowork more consistently, and found that, the Anthropic engineers are a little better than Carrie Presley at building out a lot of these MD files and skills and automations, and so have moved most of my workflow over to Claude Cowork. Why am I doing this? Why am I here? I want a place that's a little different than the tutorial on YouTube and the slew of information out on X and LinkedIn, but just something that's a little more real talk, documentary style of what it's like, specifically in finance, but just everyone that's working with AI, which is really everyone. And getting used to the technology, working through it, both the technical side a bit, but also just the human side. Because at the end of the day, we are humans incorporating this technology into our world. And also, I think about how great it would have been. Imagine yourself if you were around during the dawn of the internet, the World Wide Web, in say like late 90s, early 2000s, sitting at your giant PC, and you are logging in with dial-up, and you could hear the sound like, insert the sound here, and what that progression looks like and how much it's changed. All I can imagine is it's fast tracking with AI. So let's just say 2 years, 5 years from now, how different things will look, and to have kind of this documentary of the progression along the way. So with that, I'm gonna go get some caffeine because I have a lot of work to do today. Thank you. Cheers. Happy Tuesday. The office with my lunch, to be honest. It's probably all I have time for today. Was listening to the All It podcast, which is one of my favorites for just tech, business, global science, politics, a little bit of everything. This week they had Marc Benioff, the CEO of Salesforce, on the show. I haven't finished it yet, but it was quite an interesting take. And they were just discussing, Marc was just discussing how not only they're using all of the AI technology and advancements in their own business, but also how some of their clients are using it as well, how they're going headless. It was announced not too long ago. And I thought that was quite an interesting pivot, especially one of the largest, if not the largest CRM and SaaS companies with thousands of employees and sales teams and integrations across the world. They were one of the first to announce going headless. Headless meaning you can, I'm going to butcher this, I'm not into clear tech definitions, but it's incorporated into, say, your Claude Cowork. So for example, if I wanted to access that data, I don't have to go through their UI, their interface. I wouldn't have to log into Salesforce. Kind of changing the by seat model, and likely moving to more usage versus by seat. Again, this is just my quick understanding of what this means. So I just found it interesting. SaaS companies are making the pivot and they're using the technology inside their companies and also how their clients are using it as well. Good morning. It is Thursday. We have a very busy day. We just got into Grand Central and we are headed to the office. But we have a super busy day today. Lots of meetings. We have a big launch taking place tomorrow. So there's lots of last minute preparations. And something I'm very excited about is we have our AI Lunch and Share. It was called the AI Lunch and Learn. And the first meeting that we did, it seemed that everyone came with the expectation that I was going to be teaching a class. Definitely was not the case, because here's the thing I've realized about implementing AI in the workplace, especially in finance, I guess in any industry. And we're a smaller shop, so we don't have large departments of people doing the same task. We have a lot of differentiation amongst the organization, and everyone has a pretty unique role. And so I was thinking about it today, it's similar to sports, right? So you have your research team, maybe they're playing golf and they're using Claude Cowork. And then you have your tech team, maybe they're playing basketball and they're using OpenAI's Codex. And then maybe you have your marketing team and they're playing swimming. I don't think swimming is playing, but they're swimmers. And they're using, say, Gemini or some other tooling. And so it's really difficult to come together as an organization and say, let's learn AI or let's talk about AI. There are some really basic principles, as if I guess you were an athlete. There are some overarching commonalities like, preparation and, nutrition, some basics. Same thing with AI, but everyone has their own tool that they use, their own LLM. And we're changing, right? Like the technology is it's leapfrogging. So while I say, hey, this is what I'm using today and this is how I'm using it, I've already changed multiple times. And so, yeah, all that to say, I'm really excited about today's AI Lunch and Share. Stairs in the rain, in heels, trying not to bite it. We're back in GCT where we started the day. Just popping. I'm gonna grab some food, but I wanted to update you on how the AI Lunch and Share went today. I told myself I would never use one of these furry microphones. And here we are, speaking into the furry microphone. It's kind of like the minivan, never say never. I did never have a minivan, but they're incredible. Have you ridden in a minivan lately? They're great. This is the minivan of vlogging. Also, I was just reading an article about the booing at commencement speeches by graduates. They're booing the mentions of AI in the speeches. And the ex post actually quoted the World Economic Forum, which I quoted the other day, and the data looked a little different. So what I just saw on X was that there are 92 million jobs that may be eliminated, but 170 million created. So almost an 80 million net gain. And I quoted something very different, actually much less. I received my data from AI when I did some research earlier in the week. I was just kind of curious. And I went back and found that feed and said, hey, which one's correct? And indeed, what I just read on X is correct. 170 million jobs would be created. And my AI tool apologized. So Claude Cowork said, I'm sorry, that was incorrect of me. So just kind of a friendly reminder that maybe we should always cross-reference, not everything, but I have found that sometimes it's nice to ask for a source and then visit the source, and or ask for a second agent to go in and do an audit. So a lot of times if I have a task that I have outlined for Claude Cowork to complete. So for example, can you go pull up 3 data points about job creation versus job elimination due to AI? Bring up 3 data points with 3 unique sources, credible sources. And then when you're finished, I want you to run a second agent that's going to do an audit on that. And I found that the output is much more reliable and cleaner. I know it does seem like an extra task, but I have found overall that that's a great way to get solid output data and not have to continuously doubt, is this correct or not? But shout out to Claude Cowork for the nice apology, oh, sorry about that. My bad. So we're going to work a bit on the commute home, and overall, great week. I think this is a great week of vlogging. I could probably share some insights on my first 3 or 4 days. I'll have to admit it's going to be a little more unedited, raw, authentic than I thought. I thought I could be a little more polished, and I think that we're just going to have to do what we can. So it might be a quick coffee walk, or on my way to work, or my commute home, just kind of documenting my experiences of the day, or any tips, tricks, new revelations, struggles, etc. And I'm just going to keep sharing that here. So yeah, cheers to Thursday, and cheers to sticking with it, even if it's not perfect. Sometimes done is better than perfect. And never say never. Never. What's up? Happy Friday. I have been awake since before 3 a.m. We had a big launch overseas. Exciting stuff. But it's definitely made for a double cortado before 7:30 kind of morning. But good times. And I was talking to a friend over coffee about my excitement for extra time this weekend over the holiday, so that I could build my Notion operating system / second brain. I think I've lost it. What am I even talking about? Beach, definitely gonna do that too. And also some grilling and chilling over the weekend as well. But I'm definitely looking forward to getting some organization in my life. I feel like in my mind there's all these different compartments. There's different work pieces, there's personal, so many different buckets. And it would be nice to have an operating system, a second brain. I don't know if we need another brain of mine, but having some organization up here could be very helpful. And excited to see how I can implement some of these tools into my life. TBD. I'll report back next week on how that works out. I have some really exciting events next week that I'm looking forward to. I'm hoping I can bring you along and record some of this as well. If not, I'll definitely provide some feedback. But yeah, here we are. We have a full week, did the thing, recorded, realized some struggles. Also, I'm learning to just not obsess over perfection, and we can't re-record. I just don't have time to keep re-recording. So first take, that's the take. Use it, lose it, bring it together, piece it all through a big tapestry, and then deliver that at the end of the week. Goal here is I have several goals here. Let's go with 3. One is to just document this process, right? So back to kind of one of the first recordings earlier in the week is I understand how big this technology is, and I just want to document the journey along the way, thinking back to like late 90s, early 2000s, and how different our life is now. And just kind of having some documentation, probably going to be cringe documentation, but we're gonna have documentation of that journey. 2 is to just build a community here, right? I think that that's important, is to start the conversation, is there's a missing piece of this content. Everything is very tutorial, or it's very doomer, or it's data, or it's very breaking news, this job is over. So I think it's just kind of creating more of a just authentic conversation, and maybe building something out in person or across platforms, however that might look. And 3 is it's really pushing me to learn and to articulate. That's a piece that I didn't really picture earlier in the week. And it's going to evolve. I can't imagine what I'm gonna be saying in like 5 weeks, 4 weeks, 10 months. Hopefully we're still doing this. That's the goal, is to keep doing this. Is articulating my thoughts around it. It's very much a solo sport, and it's something that I'm consistently working on, and I'll have quick one-off conversations. But to really work through these systems and be able to articulate the benefits, how things work, walking through the process and making it, and communicating it in a simplified way that someone at different skill levels can somewhat understand. We're all at different levels. It can be very difficult. You don't know in a conversation when you're starting to have a conversation about, hey, how are you using AI in your work? Is it helping you out? What's going on? You don't know if someone's using, like a chat, or if they're, building out some intense system. You don't really know where someone is on that spectrum. And so just being able to articulate simply is really key here. And I love the idea that an expert is not someone who sounds smart, but it's someone who can articulate complex ideas simply. And so I am learning that. This is very much a process. It forces me to take what I'm learning, what I'm doing, and to find a way to articulate that. And it's all new to everyone. So while I sometimes have, maybe imposter syndrome in other areas of my life, or I feel like I am more skilled or more confident in certain areas, I do feel like this has been quite this is leveling us all. Very few of us are complete experts. And if we are, we probably won't be in 2 weeks, because the technology will change. And so it's a great leveler across the field, no matter what industry you're in, no matter what you're doing, we're all learning this together. And so I think that's a really cool part about this too. So great first week. I'm looking forward to next week, and go see some sunshine. Get some sunshine, That's what it's all about. If you're about to embrace on the long weekend, well, you're probably seeing this afterwards, but whatever day it is, get out, see some sunshine, enjoy life, and stay curious.